team, the winning team will receive 20% of the proceeds from the Brazen Hen. That's 20%. The Brazen Hen has an outstanding pub, lunch, and dinner menu with everything from beggars and mash to Reuben and pulled pork sandwiches, outstanding calamari, craft beers, and yes, entertainment. Tuesdays is Open Blues Jam, Thursday, trivia nights, and entertainment Friday and Saturday nights. The Brazen Hen, 4 Canal Street in Westerly Zoo, downtown.
Mostly sunny skies today. Today's high 43. Partly cloudy tonight. Tonight's low near 32. On Tuesday, we'll see a mostly cloudy day with rain showers mostly in the afternoon, the high 50. From the WBLQ Weather Center, I'm Rick Edwards.
There's a small town dealer that'll treat you right. You'll save plenty, plenty and plenty.
Hello, folks. Rob Valenti. Here we go with our Black Friday and More sales event with over 1,000 vehicles clearing mark with our 1-hour delivery policy. Here's just a few examples. Valenti Volkswagen Mystic NO Sabre, $1,500 own loyalty, sign and drive, no money down, $219 a month on a new Jetta S. Valenti Toyota, Westerly, Rhode Island, new Toyota Corolla LE buy for $17,999 or $159 a month. 0% finance for 60 months on select models. Valenti Subaru, Westerly, Rhode Island, new 2016 Subaru Foresters, nicely equipped for under $22,000. Get up to 125% current market value for your trade. Bob Valenti Auto Mall, Mystic, Connecticut, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. 0% for 75 months, plus get up to $6,000 off. Bob Valenti Ford, Friends and Neighbors pricing event. Up to $10,000 off 2015 XLT Super Crew 4x4. Bob Valenti Chevrolet, get up to 25% off Malibus. That's $6,000. Camaros up to $10,000 off. New 2015 Chevrolet Silverados take off up to $8,500. Come early, come late to the biggest sales event of them all. Go to bobvalenti.com or call 800-699-2571. Thank you and just smile.
1230 WBLQ.
Good morning. Welcome to It's Your Business. My name is Frank Prozance, and this morning we are visiting with Bill Daby, who is a longtime photojournalist with the Providence Journal for 32-plus years. Before that, with the Des Moines Register. Before that, he was a graduate of UMass Dartmouth with a Bachelor of Fine Arts. Spent 3 years as a photographer in the Army, and for the last 14 years or so has been WilliamKDaby.com, and we'll explore that a little bit and some of the things that he's doing now. Also, four photo books. One called Road Trip Italy, Egypt Land of the Pharaoh, Tropical Light, Photo Painting, and we'll also explore all of those if we have time. Bill, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Sounds like I've done a lot, huh?
I made a lot of that up, so don't worry about it. Bill and I worked at the Providence Journal together, and one of the things that always struck me was the quality of our photography staff. And when you were a reporter going out on a story, it wasn't just about the words. The photos often did an incredible job of two things it did. One, it really helped tell the story a great deal. And two, it often drew the reader into the story. And I don't know how you guys viewed those things when you went out with the reporters, but it was, I just felt really great about the people that I went out with. I don't think we had any clunkers when it came to photographers at the Journal.
No, we had a very good staff. They were all dedicated. And as far as working with the reporters, we got very close to reporters. They did all the work, and we had all the fun. So.
That's what we kept saying.
Yeah, that's true, though, isn't it?
Well, you know what? I always remember a story I did up at Bryant College then. It was now, of course, Bryant University, but there was it seemed like a really strange place for this O'Neill scholar who was at Bryant. And I forget whether it was Bill or George Rooney who was with me. And I'm interviewing the person. And what's great is for the photographer that the person then stops paying attention to the photographer and he can get some real candids. What an incredible, spectacular portrait of this person to go with the story. And frankly, I think I credit that photo more than with my writing, putting that story on page one.
Yeah, that's probably the case, Frank.
Yeah. I want to start off, and maybe really paying tribute to a guy that we both, someone who was very close to you, and someone who probably my favorite story ever at the Journal when I went down to Washington to be a clown in the circus for a few days with Bob Thayer. I have his pictures, and I have one blown up of me dressed up as a clown, and I sometimes think I'm looking in the mirror. But just an amazing photographer who passed away over the last several weeks, and you can't. It's hard to talk about the or to miss the incredible quality and things that he brought to the position. And maybe you can share some of your thoughts on Bob.
Oh, well, Bob had an incredible eye. He took pictures you could recognize. You'd open the paper and you'd say, "Oh, that's a Bob. Bob there took that," because he saw life very, very differently. He came from I don't say well-to-do family in Connecticut, and father was a doctor, and he went to Columbia. He went to Bowdoin, I think, in Maine, and then he went to Columbia for journalism school. But he was a real artist. He wasn't. He was a journalist, but I don't think they used him so much as a journalist. They used him as an artist. Is what the pictures I've seen that he's taken through the years. Yeah. So yeah, I'll miss him. We used to go to movies together. He was my closest link to the paper. I've been retired now for 2001 in October. I retired. So. And they locked the place down more or less. It was hard to go in. You just didn't stop in anymore because it was all security, sign in. So you just had a tendency not to stop by. But all the photographers, we were very, very close as a family, and because we all worked out of the same room more or less, and we were in and out, and that was our world for a long time.
So, Bill, tell me, when you graduated, when did you first get interested in photography?
Well, it's interesting. I was an art major, and I was flunking English for the third time because I don't spell. I say I can't spell. I just have a hard time with it all my life. And so here I am. I'm flunking English, so I was very depressed. And I left the college. It was in Fall River at the time, BMC, and it turned into, it eventually became SMU, and now it's Dartmouth, University of Massachusetts. So it grew as I grew. So I left the paper one day, and I was walking. It was a downtown college, and just on that same street I was heading home was a recruiting station for the Army. So I stopped in there and to see what I could do, because I didn't want to put up with the flunking out. So I more or less I joined the Army, but I said, I'll go paratrooper. That's a romantic thing, I was interested in the romance of life, and but he said, "Oh, you've got a couple of years of college." I was in the middle of my junior year. He says, "You've got 2 years of college." He says, "You should look at our book. See, we have schools for everything." And the book was about 6 inches thick. They did have schools for every possible profession you could imagine. And of all the luck, I turned the book open, and the first thing I saw was photography on the book, on the page. So I looked at that, and I was taking a course in photography as one of the art courses, and I said, well, I enjoyed photography, I got a camera. We all had to buy a camera and take our own pictures, and so I had about half a semester of that. So and another lucky break I had was the photography course was all filled, but they did have the photo lab course. So as it turns out, you learn more about photography in the lab than you ever would do the Army trying to teach you aesthetics on how to take a picture. That's just fruitless. And so I got in, and I left town, and I wound up in Fort Dix, I think. And then we went from Dix to Benning, and then from Benning to photo school, which was in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. And that was a very good course. We had this master sergeant. He'd been in infantry all his life, and he decided, this last tour, he wanted to have fun, so he was always interested in photography. So he had priorities. So he did photography by the book. Believe me, it was just like and that was the best way to do it, And the Army had very good systems how to learn. We were issued 4x5 speed graphic, and we'd take our pictures, And then we'd go in the dark room and learn how to develop. We mixed chemicals from scratch. We made the prints, and we'd get critiqued. And they weren't looking for the art because they were looking for clarity, sharpness, no dust spots, because we were Signal Corps, and our job eventually was going to be photographing from airplanes, more or less, and groundwork too. The whole gamut. But a lot of it was surveillance. You'd fly and you'd shoot down, and I don't know how they ever could see what was down there, but they could figure out what was a tank and what wasn't. And so that was my basic training in photography. Very rigid, very strict. It wasn't until later that I was assigned to Texas. I went to Fort Hood, and then down there they had enough lab techs. They needed photographers, so I said, I can do that, So I get the job as a photographer. There were about 3 or 4 of us. It was so funny down there because it was so hot. We used to go in the photo lab and go in the dark room, and would have to step over bodies. These are the people that were assigned to the lab that didn't have anything to do, and that was one of only 2 air-conditioned rooms in the whole base. One was a library, and the other was the photo lab. And so we had to literally step over bodies. It was dark in there. Sometimes you'd stumble, Oh, yeah, there's Anderson over there in the corner, yeah. So, and I had a very good sergeant down there, Sergeant West. He was very interested in photography. And gave me a lot of pointers. And in fact, when I was going to buy a Speed Graphic, it was for sale, $140. We made about, we made about $78 a month. And so this camera is going to be expensive for me. But I made the mistake of telling somebody else that, there's a Speed Graphic in the pawn shop in Belden, was the closest town, about 30 miles away from Fort Hood. And he went and bought it first. So I was really bummed, and Sergeant West said to me, he says, I saw a Leica camera in there the other week. Why don't you take a look at that, So I went and looked, and that was my first camera, Leica, which, that was like at the time it was a high-end camera of the whole industry. And, of course, mine was used and everything, but it was a little gem to use. It was I don't know, it was so well made, that you could, and it really got me into taking pictures. It was really a nice way to break it. The 4x5 was good because you took 1 picture, you took 2 pictures, you took 3 pictures, you took 4, and that was about it. That was the end. Your pockets were full of slide film, and so you didn't overshoot for sure, and you had to get it right the first or second time, So, and then when you got a camera that, a Leica, you put 36 shots in there, but you still had to wind each one up. So that was still slowing you down, It wasn't years before we got to the motor drives, They changed a lot. But a lot of people abused them, They just took too many pictures of the same thing. I've seen pictures of photographers even at the newspaper. They would have whole contact sheets, 36 exposures, and nothing was different. Not a thing, I couldn't figure out what they were doing, Well,
you do that with you do that with digital now, right?
Digital. Well, digital. For me, digital saved my life in photography because I love it. I worked hard as a photographer. That was hard work going in the darkroom, and you never got sick of it because it was pleasant in there. It was dark. The music was playing. Your print came up. It was, as they say, it was like magic, But then you had to work on the print because it wasn't right. You might have had to blow on it a warm breath to bring out the developing process a little bit, And then you finally get a print, and it wasn't quite right, so you'd have to do it again. And you'd have to remember what you did the first time and not make the same mistake twice. And so you might do that 2 or 3 times before you get the print you wanted.
So
and
Bill,
then you always go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say when you after the Army and after school, you ended up at the Des Moines Register. What got you there?
Oh, well, Waterloo, Iowa got me there. And I was graduating and looking for a job. I got the job at the school as a darkroom photo lab, running the photo lab, I guess. I don't know if there was a title. And they gave me 3 or 4 students to tutor. So that was a nice experience. So I learned a lot when I went back to school. I was a A and B student when I went back. I had finished English in Texas. I was at what was the school? It was out of Houston. Big university. And they had a course for the Army that you could go to. They'd go to the base and you'd turn up. And I had this wonderful teacher. She let me stay after doing my final with a dictionary, and that never happened before. So she was very patient. I was there at least an hour after everybody left for finishing my essay.
Yeah, the forerunner to spell check.
Baylor University, yeah. And so then I got my credit. They accepted the credit, so when I went back, that was done. So all I had to do was, the rest was easy. So anyway, I wrote to, I think, about 200 papers all over the country, and I got about 3 responses. And one of them was Waterloo. The guy was really interested. He sent me a plane ticket to come out. He was the managing editor. It was a small paper. It was about a town of 75,000. The famous tractor company had a big base there, the John Deere. And so I got there, and it was a sportsman's night. And he belonged to this group called the Sportsmen, and they had a meeting every whatever night it was, Tuesday night. So he brought me along, and we won the bottle of whiskey that night. They always had a little raffle. We bought it, and we went back to his place, and we drank most of that bottle, and I had the job, I just had to go home and gather my stuff and come back. And so I spent a year there. He even fit me out with a house. He said, why don't you rent my friend's house? He goes to Florida. I said, Gene, I can't afford that, Well, I was making $125 a week. And the rent, he made the rent $100 a month. And the house was called, it had a name. It was the Oaks, because there were 7 oaks on the property, And one day when the leaves were down, and it came with a gardener, and the leaves were down, and Gene was in the next house and over the hedge, and he was over there raking his leaves. And I said, "Oh, Gene," I said, "don't do that. I'll send my man over." So we had a nice relationship. But when I finally, there were 3 photographers there, and one of the other photographers said, "Oh, there's an opening at the Des Moines Register." Now that was big time. That was a national paper. So I called up. And I went down, and they said, and they interviewed me and everything, and they gave me the job. So I had to go back and tell Gene, and I go in his office, and I said, "Oh, Gene, I said I've taken a position with the Des Moines Register." I said, "I'm going to give you my 2 weeks' notice." And he just didn't say a word. And for the 2 weeks, he didn't even talk to me. That was it.
So what brought you? So you were at Des Moines for almost 3 years, right?
I was at Des Moines for 2 years.
Yeah.
I was at Waterloo for a full year, and Des Moines for exactly 2. I don't know how this worked out in my whole life. Everything seemed to wind up full years. And so after Des Moines, I went to see a movie. And I was married in the Army. I was married to a German, and we're divorced now. We're married 13 years. And I lived on what they call the economy, and we had an apartment in Germany, and her family was there. And I enjoyed Europe very much. It really brought my photography out, because every spare time I'd be down, and I was in Stuttgart, which is the home of the Mercedes and the Porsche. So that was a nice thing. I always wanted a Porsche, but never could afford one. But anyway, where am I?
We're on our way to Providence. From Des Moines.
Eventually, right? via the Midwest and Europe. So I went to a movie. It was called 2 for the Road. And it was Audrey Hepburn and Albert Finney. And it was a story of a marriage. And it was in about 4 or 5 parts. And each part, they were traveling through Europe. And so the whole movie practically was seeing Europe. And it was, of course, it was filmed beautifully and everything. And I said, oh, I got to go back, you know. So I came home that night and I asked the wife, I said, do you mind if we go back, you know? She said, oh, no, she'd love to, you know. So I had saved money and I sold, I had a mobile home I paid $2,700 for, sold it for $2,700. I had a Corvette. Money went much further in those days, you know. And I had a Corvette by that time, and I sold that. And I bought a Volkswagen camper. I picked it up in Germany, and I traveled for a year. And we went to 27 countries. And when I came back, I stopped by the Journal when I was leaving, and I asked what the chances were I could get a job there. And they said, sure, just let us know when you're coming back. So I let them know. I thought all that year I thought I had a job. You know, it was great. But what I found out, I didn't have a job. I had a tryout. They were trying out, and they'd been trying people out for about 6 months. And so when I got there, I got my tryout, and then I said, you know, it's 2 weeks are up, and I said I got to go find a job. I can't wait here, you know. And they said, okay. They gave me the job. So there I stayed for 32 years. Very, very pleased, you know.
So Bill,
Very
take me back a little bit. We only have 3 minutes until the break. But
Yeah.
when you chose which way to go in photography, you could have been a wedding photographer. You could have been.
I did that, and I recommend that for everybody starting out because that's real life, and you don't want to disappoint anybody, so you work your ass off. You know?
What brought you to photojournalism? What brought you into journalism? Because that seems to be special.
Was a job, and the paper was full of pictures, and when you looked at the paper, you said, I can do that, you know. And so I never approached it. I became a journalist by osmosis, I think, by working with you guys and, you know, really knowing the trade. You know, it's just like looking for, you know, this and that, you know, keeping your eye out. But mostly they wanted pictures that were what we call easy to read. You know, pictures that were going to be reproduced in the paper, and a lot of it was just technical. You know, you got a guy, you say take a portrait. A portrait is a portrait, you know. It's no good if you can't see the person and you can't, you know, it's not interesting. So you went for that, and that seemed to please everybody.
You know, there was such a variety in the photographers at the Journal.
Oh, it's wonderful.
There were those guys who would go out and photograph a fire. And then there were those guys like Jack Spratt who would photograph the ice on the hoses
Right,
at the fire.
Right. And we all learned from each other. You know, everybody, and nobody kept secrets. It wasn't to say, how did you do that? You say, oh, I'll never tell. You know, it was nothing like that. It was always, well, I did this. I used to fill in flash, you know, and all that stuff. Photography was much different in those days. It was a lot, I won't say it was harder. It was trickier. You know, there was no going back. You got this shot or you didn't, you know. You didn't get it the second time. The flash and the exposure had to be right on, and that's what the old timers just guessed at it. By the time I got to it, it was you had your light meter, which was a godsend, you know, and if you had a chance, you used it. But sometimes on fire, you didn't. But you know, most of the time, if you're doing a portrait or you're doing any house things or more or less anything, you get your light meter out. We even had a meter that was a spot meter. You could point it like a camera, and it would just do 1 degree of the light, you know. So it was a lot of technical things that you had to overcome to really get into the art part of it. So that was my big learning curve in the newspapers, you know.
And how much conversation was there with the reporter when you were trying to figure out what it was that you needed to photograph? Did you work as a team? Did you work?
Yeah, we worked as a team mostly. And I had interest, you know, some photographers, some reporters were better than others, but they were all very intelligent people. So when you went into a situation, maybe you'd have the picture editor was in there too, and they'd say, this is what we're looking for, you know. This, and they have a little backstory, and so you find out, let's say, it's hard to find examples now, but you'd go and you'd know when to be quiet. Sometimes it was sensitive, you know. I went to a house once in the.
So you know what? We're going to hold that for a minute. Bill,
sure.
We're at our break, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. And I want to pick up on some of those stories. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
And we are live at CentralAutoGroupCT.com, your number one buying destination, the home of Ford, Mazda, Hyundai, Volkswagen. And we thank you, of course, for listening to Frank Prosnitz's show here on Stereo 1230 WBLQ. Right now, though, we are live at CentralAutoGroupCT.com, your home for Ford, Mazda, Hyundai, and Volkswagen, your number one buying destination. They don't just say number one for any reason that you just pull out of the sky. No, they stand behind every single possible reason that you would call somebody number one. They've got the best prices here. They've got the best staff that will treat you like part of the family. Come on up and see Enrico, see Jeff, and see Alex and the rest of the gang up here at Central Auto Group, and they will put you into a brand new vehicle right away. But it doesn't end there, because it's the last day of the month of November. In addition to putting you into a brand new Ford, Mazda, Hyundai, or Volkswagen, they're going to hand over to you $1,000 in cash to do whatever you want with. It's a bonus. It's a Christmas bonus right here at Central Auto Group. Why would you go anywhere else when you can get $1,000 on top of getting a new vehicle and the best monthly payments around? Now, just because they're giving out $1,000 doesn't mean that the low prices go away. No, it's not added in somewhere. This is a bonus. So come on up, get yourself into a brand new Ford Focus for $109 a month, a brand new Hyundai Accent for $109 a month, a brand new Volkswagen Jetta for $109 a month, or a Mazda. They've got everything as far as the whole realm of Mazdas go. We're surrounded by them. I think I see a white Mazda 3 over here, and I happen to own a Mazda 3, which I bought at Central Auto Group from Tyler Cartwright about a year and a half ago. Actually, it was a year ago November. I've had it a year. Great on gas. We're talking like over 40 miles per gallon on an open highway. We've got the Mazda 6, the Mazda 7, all kinds of Fords over here, and I even see a Ford Mustang at the very end of the showroom over here. So come on up and take your pick. They've got selection, and get $1,000 when you buy any new vehicle. Ford, Mazda, Hyundai, Volkswagen, hundreds of pre-owned vehicles too. Central Auto Group, Plainfield, Connecticut. Keep your dial tuned right here to Stereo 1230 WBLQ.
Did you miss out on CentralAutoGroupCT.com's free shopping money Black Friday morning? Don't worry. CentralAutoGroupCT.com is going to give you $1,000 when you buy any new vehicle till Monday, November 30th. CentralAutoGroupCT.com, your number one buying destination, the home of Ford, Mazda, Hyundai, and Volkswagen, is extending Black Friday till Monday, November 30th with $1,000 to use however you want. 5 reasons, 1 destination: Ford, Mazda, Hyundai, Volkswagen pre-owned. Drive away a new Ford Focus, Hyundai Accent, or Volkswagen Jetta for $109 a month. Take your pick from the largest selection of Mazdas anywhere. CentralAutoGroupCT.com has $1,000 in free when you buy any new vehicle. But hurry, this incredible deal ends Monday, November 30th. CentralAutoGroupCT.com, exit 28, old exit 87, I-395, Plainfield. See dealer for details.
Number one buying destination, Central Auto Group.
Dave's Coffee Shop, Post Road, Charlestown, Rhode Island, has been serving specialty coffees, homemade muffins, and delicious cookies and pastry for more than 18 years. They buy their coffee from a select group of small farms around the world, like South America, Africa, and Indonesia, at the peak of their season. Dave's Coffee is roasted fresh weekly, and he sells his coffee, accessories, and brewing equipment. You can relax inside the comfortable shop with Wi-Fi and internet, or enjoy the seating outside on the beautiful grounds. Open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Dave's Coffee Shop, Charlestown, Rhode Island.
Hilltop Cafe on the corner of Industrial and Canal wishes you and your family a happy holiday season. Hilltop has $5 pizza, handmade by Pod every Tuesday. Now Hilltop has $18.95 baby back ribs complete with a pint of Budweiser. That's right, $18.95. Hilltop Cafe on the corner of Industrial and Canal in Westerly.
Discover what's brewing inside. Visit ProvidenceBruins.com to save big all season at the Dunk with $5 off, BOGO, and Big Save games. Get your tickets today at ProvidenceBruins.com.
Christmas trees, wreaths, poinsettias, holiday floral designs, and more at Pleasant Acres Florist and Greenhouses in Westerly. Choose from our candles, centerpieces, seasonal cut flowers, roses, or handmade boxwood trees, wreaths, and kissing balls. Shop from our selection of gift items, Sloan Ranger, handbags, nature t-shirts, caps, and scarves. Remember, we deliver locally to surrounding areas and through FTD, Pleasant Acres Florist and Greenhouses, 130 Franklin Street, Route 1, Westerly, 1-877-WE-BLOOM, or PleasantAcresFlorist.com.
There's no need to wait for Black Friday. Hi, this is Bill Sullivan from MJ Sullivan Chevrolet Cadillac Buick, and we're celebrating Black Friday every day this month with rebates up to 20% of the MSRP or rates as low as 0% for 72 months. That's right, rebates up to 20% of the MSRP on every new Chevrolet in stock. Just listen to our Black Friday pricing. A 2016 Equinox all-wheel drive for $24,395 or lease for $308 a month. Or a 2016 Cruise Limited for $17,495 or lease for only $112 a month. How about a Silverado Crew Cab LT 4x4 for only $32,495 or lease for only $399 a month? That's right, a Silverado Crew Cab LT 4x4 for only $32,495 or lease for only $399 a month. If new's not for you, we have over 150 pre-owned vehicles, including a great selection of General Motors certified models that give you new car benefit with pre-owned savings. So celebrate Black Friday every day this month and get rebates up to 20% of the MSRP only at MJ Sullivan Chevrolet Cadillac Buick in New London or mjsullivanauto.com.
See dealer for details.
Mostly sunny skies today. Today's high 43. Partly cloudy tonight. Tonight's low near 32. On Tuesday, we'll see a mostly cloudy day with rain showers mostly in the afternoon, the high 50. From the WBLQ Weather Center, I'm Rick Edwards.
1230 WBLQ.
Welcome back to It's Your Business. My name is Frank Prozance, and this morning we're we're visiting with Bill Daby, a former photographer, photojournalist at the Providence Journal, before that the Des Moines Register, and for the last several years out on his own, doing his own thing a little bit. But Bill, we were talking about some of those stories. Tell me what in your history at the Journal, the two or three stories that jump out at you as the most interesting that you photographed. Bill, are you there? Hello, Bill. I'm talking to myself. Bill? Maybe Lauren, we can try to give him another call. In the meantime, we will, as we try to get Bill back on the line, I'll tell you that over the weekend, actually yesterday went to see the film Spotlight, which is the story of the Boston Globe Spotlight team, their investigation into the Catholic Church and its response or its attempt to cover up a lot of the transgressions with the priests in that area. I would highly recommend that movie. It's extremely well done, and it gives you some real insight into some really great journalism, as well as to what has been an incredible issue that has probably redefined the church over the last several years. Bill, are you back with us?
I'm here. I never left.
Okay. Good to have you.
Yes.
So my question was, if you think about your years in journalism, particularly at the Providence Journal, if there were two or three stories that jump out at you as maybe the most interesting, most difficult to shoot, the things that really are top of your mind when you think about your career as a photojournalist.
Well, I think one of the biggest stories I did was they sent me to Egypt to cover who was it? Ramses II. They were having a big art show throughout the country of that period of Ramses and the artifacts, and they were going to have it at the Boston Museum of Science. So instead of, I guess their PR people told them, instead of just running ads in the paper, why don't they invite some journalists to go over to Egypt and photograph the life and times of Ramses II, which is still around over there. You know, there's a lot of it there. He was a powerful man, and so I went because I'd been to Egypt before, and so the boss of the journal at the time, they decided I'd be the good man to go, and I had to agree with him, and it was just delightful. It was hard work because we were covering the whole country in a week or something like that. But I saw more of Egypt in that week than I did in. I was there 37 days back in 1969, and I saw more of it in that week than I did in '69. And
so I've got a very important question to ask you, because I think we have to clear this up. So Dr. Carson has suggested that in the pyramids they were really there to just store grain. Did you find that?
Oh no, that's bullshit. I mean, there was a little tunnel in the pyramids, a little tunnel to go through, to go into one of the chambers. We had the man. He's been in the news 100 times ever since, and he was our tour guide for the pyramids. He's like the secretary of antiquities in Egypt. He was a big deal. I've seen him ever since in quoting him in articles in Time magazine, and here he was walking us around, and we were just listening, But we had wonderful tour guides. We had a woman. She had a doctorate in Egyptology, and so she knew everything. So it was the whole thing was an education. And then this other guy, he was in charge of getting us where we had to be, and he'd always get us there where the light was just right. The guy was a genius. We'd go down to Abu Simbel and fly in and for the day, and it's just a marvelous trip. We didn't go run into trouble till we were coming home when we got stuck in the airport. It was like a madhouse there for a day and a half.
So, Bill, how about a couple of other things that you've covered, particularly in state and maybe some of the more complicated stories?
Oh, they were never complicated as far as pictures. Either you got the pictures or you didn't get the pictures, And I would be a little nervous until I took the first picture. I took a frame, then the nerves would leave me, and I just it was like a Zen thing. You'd always find yourself, you wanted to be in a certain spot to take this picture. If you were out with other photographers and other, especially TV thing, I would always just stay in one spot, and they'd kind of drift over to me, and then at the last minute, I'd move away from them and go to the other side of the room, and they were stuck then, so I would be where I wanted to be,
That's funny. That's funny because one of my strategies was, with all the competition, it's different today, but with all the competition, if I would go to a press conference, I would often just wait until the press conference was over, and then go and talk to the principals, and at that point, not feed into the other media that was there, providing them with information. I recall John Schmitz was a presidential candidate running on the American Party ticket, and I was assigned to spend the day with him. And so I had been over. This was in Warwick, and I had been over in his suite for much of the day, and there was a press conference that afternoon. So I got much of my stuff, and we walked over to the press conference, and there was the TV stations were there, and they didn't know what to ask, so they're looking at me. So I stood up and I just said, "Thank you very much, Mr. Schmitz." Ended the press conference at that, and then went on and was able to do my story without the TV media getting a whole lot out of that. But
it was always a competition. Yeah, you always had to be on top of it. Yeah, that was one little pressure. But I mean, you had the might of the Providence Journal behind you, and that was a big footprint. We didn't have press cadet. Well, we did for a while, but they didn't amount to much. All you had to do is say, "I'm from the Journal," And if you're on, we did a lot of stuff on the street. Just go out and find a nice picture, Well, yourself, you go out and take pictures of people on the street, strangers and stuff. You better have a pretty good story while you're taking their picture,
Right.
And you didn't have to have. All you had to do is say, "I'm from the Journal," and then get their names and everything. And that was a big plus, having that power behind you, I missed it as soon as I retired. I realized my candid shots on the street were going to be a lot more difficult. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Oh yeah.
So tell me about your career since you retired about 14 years ago. What have you been doing? And then I also want to get into some of the stuff you're talking about now, in that that you're doing something else with photography. You're making pictures for art, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's photo. I call it photo painting. with the computer, you've got what they call filters. And you can change colors, you can change textures. And so you start with a very good picture. First of all, it has to be good. And then you start manipulating it. And I did that for about 2 years. I've got about 100 of them. And I did have a show in Providence. It was at the AS220. And it was a big crowd came. They liked it, but nothing, you don't sell. Photography, it's, I don't know. You're caught in between high-price oil paintings and it's just, for me anyway, I think photography sells if you got a name. If you've got a big name, if you're Ansel Adams, he sells, But a guy that they don't know the name, it doesn't matter how good your work is. It's you're not going to sell and enough to make a living. So I was so happy I wound up in newspapers. So I had the same enjoyment. I made a living, and I didn't have to deal with accountants and PR people and begging people, and it was a free ride as far as having fun goes. But yeah, what I've been doing lately is just my own stuff, and Facebook has really been a godsend to me because any photographer wants to show his stuff. There's no point in taking a picture for yourself. It's a sharing thing, and the industry of photography has changed so much with the advent of the digital camera and Facebook that I go on there now. We had a site. There were 12 of us. And we started this site called the Capture Rhode Island. And at the end of 2 years, there were 3,000 members, and most of them women, and very serious. So I said when I was photographing through the years, I said, you people should take this up at a hobby. It's more fun than pinball for sure, And but, some people did it, but it was hard work and it was expensive. But now, bingo. We have this, I like it, I don't like it, get rid of it, And then you get someplace to put it. We have a contest every week, and I get involved with different places. One is in Germany, and the other is in Italy. I have correspondence, photographic correspondence with people all over the world, literally. And they get back to you, and you see their picture, and you say, oh, you like it, and you make a comment. They get right back to you. It's like, to me, first of all, I couldn't believe it, that you could talk to somebody from China and actually be, texting them or, in contact with them live. They were on the other end somewhere, I said, this can't be, but it is, and it's a great, I put pictures in every day. I take new pictures, and I've got this wealth of old pictures that everybody seems to enjoy. So
when you go out and photograph today, what are you looking for? What kinds of things are you trying to photograph?
Oh, it's a real zen thing for me. I don't look for anything. I get in the car sometimes and just have the equipment and drive, and something will catch the corner of my eye. I'll stop. I'll turn around. I'll go back, and I'll spend 10, 15, 20 minutes on it till I think I got it nailed down, and then I get in the car and drive some more. At the end of the day, I'll have shot about 300 or 400 pictures. I come back. Editing is very, very important. They don't edit enough, in my opinion, as far as the new photographers go. So you edit, and you get it the couple of hundred down to about 10 or 20, and out of that, you let them sit like you were baking, and when they rose to the surface, you grab the 2 or 3 that really meant something to you, and that would be it. And often, more than not, I would wind up with those pictures at the end of the day. The other day I was driving around. I didn't know what to do. I was just about to quit, and I was down by the waterfront down in Providence, and I came across this huge sand pile. They've been building up, I guess, for the winter, and it's enormous, and the guys with the bulldozers and stuff. So I have to inch my way. I park and I walk across, and it's, they got the big fence and they got the heavy equipment. So you can't, if you were from the Journal, you say, I'm from the Journal, and I'd run around. But no, I got to stand outside the fence. But then you get talking the old, what do I want to say, the tools the old tools come back to you, and you get talking to the closest guy, and he invites you in, So now you get the run of the place for a while, and got some wonderful pictures, So they're always unexpected. They're always. I couldn't think of plotting and planning a picture. It just doesn't work for me.
So, Bill, you've also done these 4 books with blurb books, which I'm unfamiliar with. This one called.
I wish I could show them to you. That's too bad it's radio. People would be much more impressed if they could see my work. Trust me.
So one is called Road Trip Italy. The other is Egypt, Land of the Pharaoh, Tropical Light, and Photo Painting. And actually, if people do want to see them, they can go on to Blurb Books. I'm not sure exactly what the site is, but just Google Blurb Books.
Yeah, and then my name.
Look up Bill Daby, and you're going to find those, and you can actually.
Or you can just go online and look up my name, William K. Daby, and they'll see different things. They'll see my blurb books maybe, and they'll see. I have a website, WilliamKDaby.com, and I have some of those photo paintings on that, and I also have some Egypt pictures and some Italy pictures on there, plus a lot of local pictures. So, that's a nice site to anybody who wants to see my work.
So tell me about Blurb Books. What is Blurb Books?
Blurb they do this high-quality book. You always want to be in a book, and here's a chance to make your own book. It's not cheap. It's about $85, but a good-sized book, high-quality printing, and they give you the format. You can pick different formats, and you line up your pictures, and then you tuck them into the pages, and you can write under the picture or not. You make your own way, and it's a marvelous product. I've done 4 of them, but they're hard, but it's a whole different challenge too. Now you've got all these pictures. How do you arrange them on a page to make the most dramatic statements and everything? So I think I was very successful with those.
I've done similar type things on Shutterfly. I don't know. I don't know if the quality.
It's probably the same thing. Yeah.
And
I wound up on Blur because somebody recommended it.
And that's the same thing as a Shutterfly.
Yeah, and Apple Computer had one too, but they did this is something you don't realize. You buy a computer, and my computer, it was a 2005. And I made a couple of books on that. Now, in Blurb, you can share your books with the public, and you can sell them through Blurb. But on Apple, it's strictly private, But they have a high quality, too. So I made 1 or 2 on that for the family. And then I was going to make another one, and all of a sudden I couldn't because I had to upgrade my computer. So I bought a computer that did one thing, and then in the middle of the thing, I couldn't. So that's the computer world for you, They got you. You're going to be buying new computers the rest of your life. Trust me.
So how difficult has it been to transition from film to digital, and how have things, what has changed for you in that transformation, and what kind of a camera are you using today?
I use a Nikon. I've always paper supplied Nikons, and I had before I went from the Leica, which wasn't going to do it for me for newspapers. I know everything was moving a little too fast. I had to get into the single lens reflex, as they call it. And so I got into the Nikon way back in Waterloo, as a matter of fact. I ran into a guy. He owned a furniture store, and he had the Leica. He had the Nikon, and he didn't know how to use it. That's what happened. You got too much money, you buy the camera, and you never take it out because it scares you. So I got it from him pretty cheap, and he says, "Oh, and by the way, I have this other lens," and he had never taken it out of the box, And this stuff was expensive, And so now I'm into Nikon, and I did that, and I went. In Waterloo and then in Des Moines, and then I traveled with it. And then when I came to the paper, at the Journal, they were using Nikon, so they supplied me with all. It was like Christmas. How many? Here's 3 or 4 lenses. Here's 2 bodies. Here's
Yeah,
so,
the old Nikon Fs. Is that what
we started with the F, and we went to the F2, the F3, the F4, the F5. By the time we got to the F5, that was the end of the line, I think, and then we were switched over to digital, and it was hard. But I had printed or photographed quite a bit in slide film, the color.
Right.
So that was like color. A lot of people stayed away from that in the paper because they were afraid of it, because if it wasn't right on, it wasn't any good. If you overexposed black and white, you could save it by two or three stops. If you underexposed it, you could save it. But when you got into slide film, you couldn't. And they found out when they got into digital that was the same. To me, I treated it like slide film. But everything by that time, they had the automatic focus, they had the automatic exposure meter, and if you trusted all that, the pictures came fine. I never had a problem with it. The only problem I had with it was heavy, it was clunky, and it had, I think it had about 2 gigabytes of memory in it, and that was something. When you think of, and they had a half a gigabyte, was a 512 chip that you put in. It cost about $200 or $300. The paper supplied all this, but now you can get like 16 gigabytes for about, $7.98.
Right.
So that's how that's gone. So yeah, digital to me is the way to go, and it's got more people involved, and I think really seeing is an education, because we rush. You don't stop and look at things, and you learn. Everything you learn in life is from seeing, from a baby till now. When you see something, you have to relate it to something. You're faced with reality here, and the more you look at things, and the more you understand what you're looking at, the wiser you become, I think. I might be wrong. But.
Yes. So to me, the real gift of a photographer is not necessarily in the equipment, because equipment can do an awful lot today, but it's having the eye and the feel for what makes a good photograph. It's being able to frame that photograph or put it in perspective, or seeing and understanding that something will make a good image.
Yeah, the only thing I can say about that is you've got to see a lot of bad ones, and then a good one pops out at you. I don't know I know what makes it good in my own mind, Oh, that's it, I want to show somebody that. That's what makes it good. As soon as you want to share it, And some people will just look at it and say, oh, yeah, that's nice, And other people say, wow, that's your biggest compliment when you get a wow. And so you've accomplished what you went after. You went after the wow. The interesting visual excitement you're trying to, share that you went out and looked at and saw. But the other is just craft. You really have to work on your craft, and you got to learn to edit. You go out like the sand pile, you go out, and I might have taken 300 pictures there. I watched the guy go up the hill, then I wait till he comes down the hill, and then he goes up again, and I'm playing with the exposure, even with automatic, you still can play with it. You got a sky that's one exposure, and the sand pile's another, and you want to grab that sky because it's very dramatic, and you want to match it, so you play with it till you get the perfect exposure, and then maybe the picture isn't anything, So it's a little give and take, and experience, and sometimes. To be honest with you, I think photographers are born. I think you can become a good photographer, but somebody like Ansel Adams and Bruce Shawn, and they're just born. If you look at their lives, they were just born, and I think I was born to be a photographer. I can't do anything else, to tell you the truth, Frank. I used to go out with the cops, and I used to think, Jesus Christ, I can't even be a cop because they have to write these reports, I used to be in a photo lab with that typewriter, and I'd be after a while, you just ask people, how do you spell this? How do you spell that? A little bit of a joke, but because it was such a family, it just, people got used to me, they'd help me.
Well, it was always, we're unfortunately, Bill, we're out of time.
Okay.
I want to thank you for being with us this morning, and I will tell you that as a former reporter at the Journal, it was always a pleasure to go out and have you at my side. I felt comfortable and confident when you were there,
Frank.
And so I really appreciate it. Again, thank you very much, and we'll catch up with you later, and we'll catch up with everybody tomorrow.
team, the winning team will receive 20% of the proceeds from the Brazen Hen. That's 20%. The Brazen Hen has an outstanding pub, lunch, and dinner menu with everything from beggars and mash to Reuben and pulled pork sandwiches, outstanding calamari, craft beers, and yes, entertainment. Tuesdays is Open Blues Jam, Thursday, trivia nights, and entertainment Friday and Saturday nights. The Brazen Hen, 4 Canal Street in Westerly's new downtown.
Mostly sunny skies today. Today's high 43. Partly cloudy tonight. Tonight's low near 32. On Tuesday, we'll see a mostly cloudy day with rain showers mostly in the afternoon, the high 50. From the WBLQ Weather Center, I'm Rick Edwards.
There's a small town dealer that'll treat you right. You'll save plenty, plenty and plenty.
Hello, folks. Rob Valenti. Here we go with our Black Friday and more sales event with over 1,000 vehicles clearing mark with our 1-hour delivery policy. Here's just a few examples. Valenti, Volkswagen, Mystic, and Sabre. $1,500 own loyalty, sign and drive, no money down, $219 a month on a new Jetta S. Valenti Toyota, Westerly, Rhode Island. New Toyota Corolla LE buy for $17,999 or $159 a month. 0% finance for 60 months on select models. Valenti Subaru, Westerly, Rhode Island. New 2016 Subaru Foresters, nicely equipped for under $22,000. Get up to 125% current market value for your trade. Bob Valenti Auto Mall, Mystic, Connecticut. Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. 0% for 75 months, plus get up to $6,000 off. Bob Valenti Ford, Friends and Neighbors pricing event. Up to $10,000 off 2015 XLT Super Crew 4x4. Bob Valenti Chevrolet, get up to 25% off Malibus. That's $6,000. Camaros up to $10,000 off. New 2015 Chevrolet Silverados take off up to $8,500. Come early, come late to the biggest sales event of them all. Go to bobvalenti.com or call 800-699-2571. Thank you and just smile.
1230 WBLQ.
Good morning. Welcome to It's Your Business. My name is Frank Prozance, and this morning we are visiting with Bill Daby, who is a longtime photojournalist with the Providence Journal for 32 plus years. Before that, with the Des Moines Register. Before that, he was a graduate of UMass Dartmouth with a Bachelor of Fine Arts. Spent 3 years as a photographer in the Army, and for the last 14 years or so has been WilliamKDaby.com, and we'll explore that a little bit and some of the things that he's doing now. Also, four photo books, one called Road Trip Italy, Egypt Land of the Pharaoh, Tropical Light, Photo